Okay, and yes, I just want to welcome everyone to be here. Khalid, also for being so generous and sharing this session with us. We really want this to be a very informal discussion where Khalid is going to share a little bit of his experience, but also where this is about your questions and about what you really want to know. I also invite you in the meantime, and while we start, if you want to use the chat to say where you're logging in from, what is your startup about, in case you already have founded a product too, and we will start also sharing questions. For the first half an hour or more or less, Khalid will share a little bit of his experience. And after that, we will just open the discussion. So this will be about what you have to put to the table too. We want this to be interactive. So after maybe also I will invite people to share the question out loud. So feel free to do so. And in the meantime, I'll just briefly present Khalid. So who's the project and product manager. He has an extended experience with the use of technology, with a background in engineering and in blockchain. And he's the founder of Scrypt, an innovation studio focused on tech for good. I really want to hear about Scrypt a lot. And also he founded Tiramisu, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, which used to be previously Community Heroes, an early stage startup that wants to create an environment of community and purpose. So Khalid will now share a little bit of what he has to share on this. And please do introduce yourselves in the chat, do share your questions, and we'll go from there. And Khalid, I think you're muted now. Just unmute yourself. Okay.
Hello, sorry. I'm having some difficulties with the Wi-Fi here. I'm in a basement, so can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, everyone, for having me here, and thank you, Bridge4Billion, for inviting me. So I have a presentation, but we will try to keep it as dynamic as possible, and we can have also great conversation all together, as Alexandra said. I turned 38 last Wednesday, so happy birthday to me. I'm from Morocco, but I spent 15 last years in France, so now I'm living a little bit everywhere, but I'm still paying my taxes in France, so I'm tax resident in France. My background is in IT and telecommunication, software development, project management, and product management. And I worked with several companies such as Sopra Steria, Orange, SFR, and Huawei, where I participated in the development and the launch of several products in the IT and telecommunication also. Then I co-founded an innovation studio, so that Alexandra introduced in my introduction. It's called Scrypt, and there we help companies and nonprofits with their innovation and business strategy, impact measurements, and product developments. And since last April, we started a small early stage startup called Tiramisu. We're building a platform that is aiming to facilitate real-world action through digital connections. And that's where I came to know Bridge4Billion, as we were part of the LEAP program the last 3 months, and we finalized it 2 to 3 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. So that was about me in a nutshell. Now let's dive a little bit into the topic. So as I said, it's presentation, but feel free to stop me, to interrupt me, and to keep it more like a discussion. So I just want to talk about what is innovation in general, and then have a bit more focus on product innovation and some more practical recommendation or advice, or I don't know how to call them, but basically talk about product innovation in practice, and then we can have Q&A or chat or just discuss. But as I said, you can interrupt me at any time during the presentation, so we can keep it as a discussion. So here, I think most people agree to say that these companies, Apple, Amazon, Airbnb, all agree to say that these companies are really innovative, are example of innovative companies. So who can tell me what's innovative about those companies, for example? Let's start with Apple, for example. What's innovative with Apple? So I don't know if anyone wants to write in the chat or take the mic, like turn on your mic and say something about Apple. I'm looking for the chat because I saw some.
I can also help you. People are a bit shy. I have Olucie, who is already shared in the chat. So I'll do this. Please do unmute yourselves. We're a small group, so it's great to share. So I wouldn't like to give the answers, but let me think about maybe the innovation in terms of user centric. And I'll open for other people to.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Well, there's no correct or wrong answer here. It's just to have the discussion. So for me at least, well, Apple are very innovative in terms of products. So their products are very innovative, and as Alexandra said, in terms of user experience and user interface, they are quite ahead of most of what they were quite ahead. Of course, some companies are catching up, etc. Like we can talk about Google, we can talk about Microsoft. However, when they launched the iPhone, it was really an innovative product, like the first iPhone. I will ask about Amazon, and I hope I will have more answers from the audience. So what's innovative about Amazon?
Hello?
Yes, hello, Jan.
Can you hear me? Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Yeah, don't want to leave you hanging in there, so jumping in.
Thank you.
No worries. I was actually finishing eating something, so I could not intervene before. And I was doing production right now on the chat, sorry. Yeah, I guess like for Amazon, we can directly say that this is the distribution system that they put in place that is the most amazing innovation that they've done, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my opinion too. So Amazon, of course, they are also like innovating a lot in terms of products. So they have Alexa, and when they launched the AWS, Amazon Web Services, that was very innovative and disruptive because that's how they kind of democratize the cloud computing, and any startups now can just have like can launch a product without having to install lots of servers. But let's not forget that they started by selling books, and their first innovation was more about processes and supply chain and how they establish partnerships with the suppliers. So basically that's what's really innovative about Amazon. So the processes, but of course the products. Airbnb. Anyone about Airbnb?
The business model?
Yeah, exactly. So when you see Airbnb, like their product is good. It has super nice interface, etc. But it's an app, it's a platform, so it's not like the most in terms of technology at least. And yeah, of course, the business model is very innovative and disruptive because they kind of disrupted like the booking and the tourism, like the hotel business. And Polaroid, it's kind of counter example. I will not ask you about it. I will just talk about it quickly. So Polaroid was a very innovative company. So they started in the 40s or something like this, or even before. Their co-founder was kind of a genius, an inventor, and they innovated a lot in terms of products. So they had a lot of cameras, they had a lot of invention that they implemented in their camera. However, they didn't catch up and they didn't innovate in terms of business model. So they kind of missed like the digital camera train, and then they got disrupted by Sony, by other digital camera producers. And now Polaroid has gone bankrupt. The brand is still here, but the company in itself is not the same. So that's just like the. So that's about the example. Of course, there are so many other innovative companies. So I just took this this example to show a little bit like the type of innovation and that you need to try to innovate in different sectors to not get disrupted and to not miss any train. So the type of innovation I'm taking here, the framework proposed by Tid and Besant, who are two professors of innovation, entrepreneurship, and management. So we have the product innovation, which is, I don't know if you see my mouse, but anyway, the product innovation. So what products are you developing? The process innovation, how are you creating and delivering the product? The position, so who do you offer the product to, and what's the story you're telling to your audience or to your target? And the paradigm, which is a bit like more difficult to explain, but basically it's the way you think about your organization and you do what you do. It can be summarized in the business model. Basically, it's a bit the business model. And in the axis here, we see that the innovation can go from incremental to radical. So incremental is you do what you do, but better. So you improve what you're doing. And radical means we do think differently. So you jump like you jump a stair or something like this. So you go to the next level of innovation. So in your opinion, what is better? Like, is it incremental or radical innovation? If anyone can answer in the chat, well, it's a one-word answer, so you can put it in the chat if you want. Incremental, radical.
I also think, Khalid, maybe if you could give a couple of examples more, because it might not, everyone might not be
yes,
familiarized.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So let's talk about products. Products, radical innovation in terms of products is, for example, the iPhone, of course. So the first one have been very innovative product. So because it's kind of disrupted the phones we had, like the flip phone, etc. And we know we had like one giant that was Nokia at that time. We had Motorola, etc. But then Apple kind of disrupted the whole market. And then after that, so they didn't invent the smartphones, but they kind of democratized the smartphone because they built iPhone, which changed the way we are using phones. An incremental is what they are doing right now. So they have the same iPhone. They are building upon it. So they are improving it. They are making it bigger, nicer, better screen, more features, etc. In terms of processes, so we can talk about incremental innovation is like, for example, when UPS or some other supply chain companies are improving their processes. So instead of going from 1 week delivery, they are going to 4 days delivery. Radical is Amazon. So you don't even need online and get it the next day. The paradigm, as we said, it's a bit the business model. So Airbnb is quite radical innovation. And of course, they are
Oh, I'm afraid we lost Khalid. He was having some connection problem. Let's hope he can connect again.
here again. Do you hear
Okay,
me?
we lost you for a few
Yeah.
seconds. Sorry.
Yeah, no worry. Well, I am sorry. As I said,
No
I'm
problem. It was
struggling.
seconds.
As I said, I'm struggling a little bit with my Wi-Fi. So sorry. So what I was saying, I think I was talking about the paradigm with the example of Airbnb. So for the position, for example, so the incremental innovation is like the airlines when they're. Can you hear me? Because my laptop is freezing.
Yes, we can. But
Okay.
if it helps, if I know you have a presentation, but if it helps to stop sharing screen for a while, also we can discuss on the topics and then share the presentation. If it happens again, it's a suggestion.
Okay, I will stop sharing that. Okay, so what I was saying is, for example, when we talk about for the position, for example, an example of incremental innovation is when we talk about airlines. So we have like the airlines, they are having business, they are having economy, so they might want to add economy comfort or first class economy or business economy or something like this. So these are innovations in terms of offers, in terms of position, the target they are targeting. So for example, economy comfort is like for people who don't want to travel too cheap and have like uncomfortable seats, but they are also not ready to pay for business class. So there is something in the middle. That's still an innovation. It sounds very simple, but it's still an innovation. Radical innovation is Ryanair or Southwest in the US, because they really targeted like segments that wasn't able to travel at all. So they are cutting costs. They are having for Ryanair, of course, it's process innovation, but at the same time, it's position innovation because they are targeting some segment that wasn't targeted before. So basically, that's the examples I'm having here. We can think about. So I don't know if you have any example of radical versus incremental innovation, and if anyone wants to share it with us here.
Few people joined recently, so I would love to hear, also if where you're connecting from, what's the scope of your venture too, and maybe some insights on this. Like, do you think you have one type of innovation, the other one, or questions of how you, or even if you have questions about what's in the scope of your technology and of your product, how do you fit in the spectrum? So maybe Kelly can help as well.
I will maybe share my screen quickly for those who didn't have the time or chance to see just what we are talking about. Is just this this framework. So we have like different type of innovation. So products, processes, position, and paradigm, which is more like the business model. And I will stop sharing my screen because I see that it's already starting to freeze a little bit.
Unfortunately, we have to deal with all these problems. Don't worry, Khalid, it happens. Yes, we also have some mentors here, so maybe you don't have your own venture, but you do use this kind of approach, or you're interested in. Khalid, maybe I'll take the chance to ask you something. There are some ventures that eventually will only use once be more in one spectrum of the innovation model, and others will be more in the other. Um, what do you think that in general, this may be very obvious, but actually not for a business that is starting, that is probably not in the radical. What would be the pros and cons of pursuing a different spectrum for early stage ventures? Maybe in your, you have experiences that you can share?
Yeah, actually, when you launch a new venture, what would be a good exercise is to take this framework and see a little bit where you are in each of them, because in the end, you need to pay attention to all these areas. So you need to pay attention to your products, of course, because that's what you're proposing to the audience, to your audience, to the world. But you also need to pay attention to the processes, of course, because that's how you develop and you deliver your product. You need to pay attention to the position, so who you are targeting, and you need to pay attention to your business model, because that's how you make money. That's how your product will be sustainable and viable. The thing is, you cannot go and be radical, like have radical innovation in all those spectrum. You can also not be radical in any of them, actually. So you can just improve what's existing already. In terms of products, you can be radical because it's easier to find a problem that maybe haven't been fixed or have been fixed in different way, but then you find a better way to fix it. Then it's kind of radical innovation. Radical innovation doesn't mean successful products neither, because you still need to find your audience and the people who will want to use it. But yeah, the thing is, it's good to have an assessment, to not forget about any of those spectrum, to not forget about your processes, your business model, your position, and your product, and yeah, basically to not try to be radical since the beginning. Don't do something that hasn't been done just for the sake of doing something that have never been done, because sometimes it doesn't make sense. So yeah, you just need to continue testing your assumption, trying stuff, fail. If you fail, try to fail as fast as possible so you can try something else and not spend a lot of money before your failure. So yeah, so basically that's what I would suggest to any early stage, and that's what we are trying to do, because as I said, well, we have an innovation studio. We were supposed to, well, we are working with startups and companies, etc. But when we are also in a position of having early stage, we need to push ourselves to do what we say to others what they need to do. So we need to have this, to always keep in mind this approach and force ourselves to not go to the easy way and this kind of thing. So yeah, I hope it answered your question.
A lot. Do you want, I don't know if, because now you stopped sharing, so I would love to hear a little bit about your startups too. So about Scrypt and about Tiramisu, previous community heroes. I would love to know like what they are, the experience in both, if they were different, similarities. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, just one thing, Community Hero is Tiramisu, so we rebranded it last week, so it's quite new. The thing is just the story behind this startup. We started it in April during hackathons. So it was an idea and we launched it during a hackathon. But during a hackathon, we had like 48 hours to find the brand, to find the name, to develop a prototype, etc. So we spent like 5 minutes for the name, 10 minutes for the logo maybe or something like this, and then we spent the rest of the time for the prototype and the pitch, etc. And then the project progressed. So we had some progress. We started developing, and then we realized that maybe we need to spend more time on the branding. So that's where we called it Tiramisu. Why Tiramisu is because it's coming from the Italian pick me up or lift me up, and we are building a platform where people are supposed, where we are trying to build something where people will support each other and lift each other's up. So yeah, so basically that's it. So to go back to Scrypt, so we work with startups, companies, and nonprofits, and also like development agencies, etc. So we work with them on research about technologies. So for example, blockchain, but it can also be machine learning, etc. So we try to write about the trends, what's happening. We conduct surveys with project owners or users, etc. We also work on products developments directly. So it can be with the startup. So we help them define what define their product. So what they need to develop. Help them also validate their assumptions. So we have some methodology to see how to discuss with customers, how to discuss with users, to validate that they have these problems and their products is needed. So yeah, so basically that's, and we do also development. So we work with the development studios where we help them also do products management and development. Yeah, so that's for tiramisu. We worked quite a lot with blockchain. I see that there's a question from Jan about blockchain. So yeah, so basically we worked on projects on blockchain around financial inclusion. So like crowdfunding platforms and supply chain also quite a lot, and some projects around digital identity also, because it's quite an important topic in blockchain. Digital identity is super important also. It's, I don't know if you know it, it's identity but digital. So you will not need normally to have a passport with you. So you will have your identity digitally, and you can prove that who you are just digitally by having a wallet on your phone. So yeah, so that's some really interesting topic with blockchain. Most of them are still early stage and still in pilot phase, because it's still a bit difficult to go to mass adoption with blockchain, but it's going on the right way. And yeah,
just a
Mm-hmm.
quick follow-up question, if I may. You mentioned the financial inclusion, the digital identity, and also like the traceability, right? When you're talking about like, okay, yeah. Are you the one, like through Scrypt, directly piloting those kind of projects, or are you helping people to build this kind of project?
No, we help people build this kind of projects. So we don't have our own projects on this, but we work with company to develop, and well, for the study, but also for the development and launch parts.
Okay, cool. How can we contact you then?
You have my name.
Yeah.
You can add me on LinkedIn. It's Khalid Belghiti.
Cool.
And then we can. I have a slide normally at the end with my contacts, but I don't know if it will work. I can put it in the end.
No worries. Maybe we can just have like your details in
Yeah.
an email or something.
Yeah. Well, my email is easy. It's Khalid is my first name at Scrypt.Media.
Okay, cool.
It's the name of. Okay. I can share it here actually. Yeah, and I just saw that Alexandra shared my LinkedIn, so feel free to add me. And
super, thank you very much. Merci.
De rien.
Thank you, Jan. Actually, I was thinking that we have two questions more related to business models around product-based companies. So they ask mainly two questions, which is Hatice asks questions about the business model towards a nonprofit goal. I'm not sure if your venture is nonprofit or if it's a social model.
Yeah, it's a startup. It's for profit. We had this discussion a lot at the beginning. So for profit, non-profit. For us, we've been working in tech for good since the beginning, and since 3 years now. And we think that well, you can, and maybe you should, but well, let's say just you can be like you can have a really good purpose. You can do technology for social impacts, etc., but still make profits at the same time. Because for me, the problem is not making profit, is also what do you do with your profits. Because if it's helping you build a better platform and bring more impact, that's fine. Of course, when it gets a little bit, well, bad, or having like a bad connotation, is when you start seeing companies with billions and billions, and then you have like founders with billions and billions of dollars. But basically, we are for profit. However, if you want a business model for non-profit, you can always have it. I know that there are a lot of impact investors, so they will invest in your project depending on the impact you bring in. So they will not focus a lot on the revenue part and the profitability part. Well, there will be no profitability if you are a non-profit anyway. So there is this, but there's also quite a lot of non-profits going into donations. So they are asking for donation either from the users, or they are looking for funders like foundations, etc. So I'm not an expert in non-profit, to be honest. I work with some, we worked with some, but yeah, we don't work with them on the business model part. We are mainly working with them in the product development and the research parts.
But at least if you want, you can also contact me and we can have a conversation also around it. I'm happy to discuss that with you too. And another one also on the business model part, but more, I'm going to read. This is from, I don't know the name because the name is AE Consulting Contact. If you feel free to compliment what I'm reading. Is there a difference between the business plan of an innovative startup and the normal project? I assume the innovative is technology-based product.
I would say no. In my opinion, it's a business plan is a business plan. You have some things that you need to show. You need to show the problem you're solving. How are you solving it, and how much money are you making out of it, and how are you selling it, and how are you making money, and then when are you getting profitable. I think there are other places where you need to show how innovative is your product than the business plan. Of course, like people will realize how innovative it is when you're presenting your solution in the business plan. But yeah, I think it should contain the same thing. It's just for innovative startup. It's more on the content, like what are you saying in the business plan when you're presenting the solution, etc. Like people will realize how innovative. Sometimes if it's too innovative, you might have a lot of people not seeing how innovative it is because it's too new and that's not what they are used to see, etc. But yeah, I think I would say for business plan, there shouldn't be any difference in terms of structure at least. But in terms of content, of course, like yeah, you need to show how innovative is your product. And to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know what is a normal project because like any startups having a product, they are trying to be innovative in certain way. It's very difficult. If you're just doing a normal project, I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think it's worth it to just go and have normal startup because that doesn't make a lot of sense actually.
Anyone wants to make a question? I'm going to remind that you are all muted, so we need to do unmute before speaking. And I do invite everyone to do so. So don't wait for the silence, just go ahead because I'm going to make a question. So do it after, do it in the chat, let us know. I just want to know, Khalid, so you have experience, you've launched 2 ventures, you've worked in other projects. So I wanted to ask, thinking about very early stage founders, maybe they have experience, but they never launched a startup. Maybe they have experience in other fields, etc. Maybe they are not from the technology field, but they are partnering in a startup that is launching a technology project. So I wanted to ask, what is the advice that you as an early founder would have appreciated from the beginning when setting the foundation of the project, design of the product, all the foundation? What is it that you wish you would have told and not you cannot read on how to set a roadmap, how to do customer discovery, etc. But what
Yeah.
is your
Well,
advice?
the thing is that I was quite lucky, or maybe it's just the way it has been done. Like I started founding and co-founding startups after some years of experience. So I've been product manager. So I was working on products. I was knowing a little bit, well, quite a lot about business plan and how to set a business plan. And I also have a co-founder who is like uh, my partner. She's also quite having a lot of experience in terms of business strategy, and even at her previous jobs, she was having the opportunity to how to say it, assess startups and see like what the startups are supposed to do, etc. So she's having quite a lot of experience on this. So that's what helped us at the beginning. But I would say if you're an early stage startup and if you're new on to entrepreneurship, look for mentors, because it's quite important. It's something that people don't do a lot, and I wasn't doing it a lot because I was also thinking that I knew it all. I was having a lot of experience and all, but I think it's very important to have a mentor, to discuss with a lot of people, because they can always bring um, lots of experience. And Bridge for Billion is a good example, because in 3 months we had the chance to have Julie, who is the COO of Bridge for Billion, and it was very cool to have her, to discuss with her every week and have her opinion, etc. So some stuff that she was saying, we knew it, but we were always forgetting about it, like not applying it, etc. So that was always a good thing to have people to talk with who will advise us. So mentor and advisors, that's very important. And of course, you need to think about the users and validate your assumptions before you develop anything. So try to find a way to discuss with people, with your potential users, to validate your assumptions, and then start testing. So prototyping, testing, interviewing, and then you can build something, and then you see how users are reacting to you. But yeah, I would say this. And the third one is what should be the first one, is we are here in a series called Tech for Purpose. So start with your purpose. Start with, there is a book called Start with the Why. So why are you here? It's not what do you want to build, it's why are you here? What do you want? Why do you exist? What's your raison d'être in French? So yeah, what do you want to bring to the world, to the users, and then start building upon this. Like then you realize how are you going there, and then what you are building. So yeah, so that would be my 3-point answer.
Thank you. I'm going to just ask if Asma, Hati, Nikki, Noelia, Libogo, teammate, Valerie, if you do want to share, because then we will run out of time. So I don't want you tomorrow to feel, oh, I should have asked this to Khalid. So be my guest, please. And in the meantime, I also wanted to know, so you talked about those three aspects. They're very common among the founders that I do connect with daily. So now putting myself in another perspective, which is I'm a product manager.
Mm.
Maybe I'm a founder or I'm just launching a new product. And I'm joining your team. You are going to onboard me. What would be the main aspect that you would focus to onboard a new product manager?
Well, I would say some things, but that's not in the right order. So it's like a whole. So I would say the skills first, like if, well, not if you have the skills, but if you have like the right mindset and if you can bring something to the project. Second, the values. So it's also to see if you share the same values as the startup. And by values, I don't mean the 3 or 4 words you put in your website or something like this. It's more like the values, you define the values, and from the values, you get a little bit to, in practice, how do you work together? So the values, you shouldn't define them in like a paragraph, like respect is to respect people, planet, etc. But say concretely, what are you doing? It can be something as stupid as be on time for the meeting, respect other people's opinion or something like this, your colleague's opinion, or know how to criticize. So criticize something but still respect the person. So it can be this kind of thing. So yeah, so I think that's what's very important for us. And then of course, if they share the same purpose, if the purpose we defined for the project and the startup, is it something that's resonating with the person, with you? So are you okay with it? Will you work to get there, to achieve this purpose? I think that's the 3 points. And I would, that's more like, that's not answering your question in general, but that's an important topic. It's the team. Like the team in general needs to be because I'm pretty sure Alexandra is a very good product manager, but we still need to make sure that it's a good fit and that the team is good, is working together. Because sometimes what's happening is that, like, yeah, you are a founder, you don't have money, you are just looking for help, and then, like, yeah, you end up with the team you can get but not with the team you want to get, and then that's a bit sometimes problematic because you don't. But yeah, I think strong team is very important, and also like strong team that can make decisions by themselves. So it's not because you're the founder that you need to keep all the decision making and everything needs to go by you, because that's also not helping innovation. Because if there's one person approving all the decisions, you will not be able to approve all the good decisions or the good things. So yeah, just let your team decide. But for this, they need to be talented. So you need a talented team for this.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hello, Alexandra and Khalid. In fact, I have a question. Example, if I would like to do a partnership with you, how should I contact you or your company?
I put my email address earlier. I can put it again. And feel free to send me a message.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Asma.
Seeing some other questions.
Okay, so Noelia shared an idea, a question. Let's say you have an idea, you did a competitive analysis and formulated hypotheses about the solution to a problem. You need to do a user research at this point. Do you recommend to join an incubator? I'll let you reply about the pros and cons.
Yes.
It's not biased.
Why not? No, I would say, well, depends on the incubator. Of course, you cannot, well, there are incubators and incubators. You need to check if there is any value from the incubator you're joining. And you also need to pay attention sometimes, because incubators, some of them, they require equities. So they can already ask you from 1 to 5 until 10%, I think, or something like this, which might sound little, but it's not, because equities are quite important also, for you later to keep a little bit control and to serve your purpose, to not give control to other investors, etc. But yeah, I would say, well, if the question is, do you recommend to join an incubator? I would say, if you choose the right incubator. So yes, because as I said, with Bridge for Billions, for example, you're not giving equities, you are paying, but the amount you are paying, I'm doing some advertisements for for you, Alexandra. But the amount you are paying is not that big. Like it's not. I mean, it's more than 1% of equities if your equities are equal to zero. But let's suppose you become successful, then the amounts you're paying for Bridge 4 billion is really like epsilon. It's super small.
I can help out maybe and join here. Well, I think it's all about what I wrote a little bit in the chat. Knowing first what you really need as a startup or as a venture or as a founder. Maybe understanding where you are in the journey. So I'm just starting, I have an idea, or I have a project. What are the needs? Am I looking for advice on this area, like since the very beginning, like understanding my client, if that's a customer research, etc. Or am I in a situation where what I really need is a more industry-based advice from a mentor? Or maybe I'm already a little bit more advanced and I want a product kind of consultancy or mentorship. So from all the scopes, then you further along, maybe what you want is to enter the market. So it really depends on what you need, and that understanding, okay, there are different organizations or people helping out in this field. So what is the profile that I need? Am I going to be for a more business model generalist incubator? Do I need more industry-based help? It really depends on what you need. And once you know this, you can have the answer. Sorry for not being very yes or no.
Yeah.
And also, like Khalid can give you experience because also his knowledge about the ecosystem and about the options out there. But I can tell you that if you are now going under customer research, if it's been maybe when you join the incubator, what the first thing they will tell you is, and what we also say, is that, okay, but how many people did you talk to and what did you actually ask them? Because that's also part of understanding what is your value proposition, how is your product actually fitting these needs that clients have. And next, everything that you decide, what is the business model, etc., everything is going to be linked to that. So that's definitely the first step, but it's not whether you already have it or not, but whether exactly what are you looking for in terms of support, I'd say, if it helps.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, I have a question, please. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Khalid, in fact, I want to ask you something. I have an idea, and it's like a platform and an application, and I don't have yet a prototype. And now I am searching for funding. So do you think that it will be great to have a prototype at the first time, and then I will talk with the investors, or for example, looking for the dossier de sponsoring, or I write a great idea and then I start talking about it.
It's a difficult question, and I think it's difficult to answer because it really depends on the idea. But I would say in an ideal situation is you need to build something, to have a prototype, or at least to show some traction, to show that some users are already interested in your idea, etc. If it's a B2B, maybe you can contact some potential customer already, discuss with them and tell them, okay, I'm having this. Are you interested? Build some prototype, but prototype not in the way like not a real product, but just something to show them the interface. What will they be able to do with the app when the app will be ready, when the product will be ready? So they can maybe just tell you, okay, we are interested, etc. So you can show something if you want to talk with investors. So you can show that there is traction, that you also already have potential customers. But even for this, you need to check how to discuss with them, because sometimes when you talk to potential customers, they are always saying you, oh, it's a great idea, but then in the end, when you tell them, okay, how much are you paying for it, then there is no one to answer. So yeah, I would say it's better to build something before discussing with investors, unless you go. Are you in France?
No, in Tunisia.
Okay. I don't know if there are some organizations who can fund this kind of projects.
Yeah, like Orange and Telecom.
Yeah, well, if the product is interesting for them, if the idea is interesting for them, and they might also be like your first customers, then you can always discuss with them, in my opinion.
Thank you.
It's just difficult to get funding just on an idea, because yeah, sometimes the most difficult thing is to execute the idea, not to have, well, it's also difficult to have a good idea, but but the like 90% of the work is still needs to be done to execute it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I would say we're on the clock, so I would say maybe one or two last questions. And maybe picking up on what Asma was just mentioning. Okay, so when we are such an early stage of an idea stage and we don't have yet proof of that people will want to buy, how do you think how can you advise that people can start doing this this matter of showing that people could buy? Sorry, I'm not being very clear. So what would be the first steps that you would suggest for a new product without going into a huge development or extensive costs? What would be the first steps for a product to really say that, okay, I'm proving that this could work?
Well, first you need to identify your targets. So your idea, who are you targeting? What problem are you solving for those people? Then contact some of them, discuss with them. But then when you discuss with them, don't show them your idea, just talk to them. See, okay, do you have this problem? Well, don't ask it like this because it sounds weird, but just to figure out if they have this problem. Then if they have this problem, are you trying to do something to solve it? Then if they are trying to do something to solve it, well, if they are not trying to solve it, it means that it's not a big problem, so they don't really care about it. If they are trying, then you need to see how are they solving it, and if they are paying something, if it's costing them something, because sometimes they are not paying anything to solve it, but they are still spending lots of time, or they are having. So when you get there, you can see that there is a problem, there is an opportunity. The next step is to figure out if your solution is fixing this problem. So then maybe after that, you start talking to them, okay, what about this scenario? So if you have something that can do this, would it be good for you? Does it solve your problem? And then that's how you can realize that, yeah, there is a market. Your solution is viable for some people, that's valuable for some people. And then you can maybe think about starting, not developing the first product, but at least have some prototypes, still test it, check your user interface, see how people are reacting to it, if they are using it, etc. And then, yeah, then you invest in development. You develop your first like the MVP, which is like the minimum viable product, like your first solution that is solving the problem but is not perfect, so it's still having like some missing feature maybe or something like this, but still focused on the problem and solving it. And then you can add upon it, so you can at least have a, like, you iterate. You don't develop like one big product like that is super perfect with all the animation and features and stuff, but you just try to fix a tiny problem but fix it well, and then you add on it. So that would be my if you're interested in these two concepts of like how you interview the users, you can check a book called the mom's test, which is quite interesting for these kind of things. And well, the MVP concept, you just need to check the lean startup like framework, or like yeah, the lean startup is where you're just developing an MVP, measuring it, making assumption, redeveloping something else, like adding more feature or changing. So you're having several little tests instead of developing one big product and then figure out and then waiting to see if it works or not, because then you're spending like 1 or 2 years and you're not having any idea about if your investment is paying or not.
I think that's a great advice. Um, well, it's 5, so well, at least where I am. Sorry, guys. So it's 1 hour. I want to be mindful of also of everyone's time. I think it was super precious advice, especially for when you're starting. Everything is very new, and sometimes you hear a lot, but you actually don't hear it firsthand. So what I'm going to do now is that we're going to share the recording also. If you want to know more about Khalid, do contact him. We have shared the LinkedIn here. I can share it again, leaving. And we will have also the recording over the community. And if you have any questions also for Virtual Billions, do contact us. I want to thank you, Khalid, so much for the time and dealing all with the
Thank you for having me.
and everything. Thank you so much. I hope it was enjoyable and useful for everyone. And yeah, you know where to find us. So do message us if you want. And have a good weekend for whoever is taking a time to rest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.